The dirty game Republicans are playing with desperate people's lives. And, you know, yesterday I spent several hours with the Neva machine. It's the latest. I love this internet search machine. I started with Google and then I went to DuckDuckGo because, they don't sell your information like Google does. And but then DuckDuckGo started throwing all kinds of right-wing stuff at me because the right-wingers were complaining that their stuff wasn't rising to the top of the DuckDuckGo searches. So then I found this website called Neva, NEEVA.com, where you can customize your search. When all these right-wing sites come up, I could just say, I don't want to see these anymore. And so I can get cleaner searches, from real news sources rather than everything coming up as Breitbart. As is what so often happens, with some of the other search engines. So anyway, I spent a couple of hours with Neva yesterday looking for Democratic and Republican members of Congress who use the phrase open borders and looking at what years were there real, actual surges of people at our southern border. And what I discovered was pretty astonishing. Every year that a Democratic president is in the White House, the midterm election, so like Obama was in the White House for 8 years, right? So you've got, he was elected in 2008. So in the 2010 election, that's the midterm. Suddenly, in the months leading up to the 2010 election, there's a surge at the border. Then it goes down through 2011. And then in 2012, when he's up for re-election, there's another surge of immigrants at the border and refugees at the border. And then it goes down in 2013, down in 2014, Obama's his second midterm, another surge at the border. And then 2016, Trump is running for president. There was a caravan that Fox News made a big deal out of, but that was it. Actually, the numbers on the border were really, really low that year, 2016. And they were relatively low throughout Trump's presidency. And then Biden comes in and suddenly his first midterm, he's been president for 2 years now, first midterm, another surge at the border. It's happening right now. It's all over the news. I took this all the way back to 1998. I could find this every time a Democratic president is in office. During the midterm elections or when that Democratic president is up for re-election, there's a huge surge of refugees at the border. And there's a huge explosion of coverage of it in the news. And they're always blaming the Republican in the White House, or the Democrat in the White House. The Republicans are always blaming that person. So then the question was, why? Why does this happen? Why is it that every 2 years, only when there's a Democrat in the White House, there's a huge surge of refugees and immigrants on our southern border? And what I found was, surprise, surprise, every 2 years, Republicans all across the country start using this phrase, open borders, criticizing Democrats, the Democratic president, for having an open border. Now, March of last year, the Washington Examiner, this free right-wing newspaper in Washington, D.C., went on a search for Democrats who were proclaiming that the border was open. They found nothing. They couldn't find one single Democrat referring to the border as, quote, open. Not one. They did find that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema both called the situation on our southern border a crisis, as well as a Democratic congresswoman from Michigan and a single Democratic mayor in Texas, who both referred to it as a crisis. But they couldn't find a single Democrat who said that our border was open. But just in the last 4 months, right, leading up to this last election that we had last month, this was just the stuff that was laying around on the ground. If you just plug into your search engine, senator, congressman, congresswoman, and, in quotes, open border, here's what I found. Ted Cruz wants everybody south of our border to know that, quote, Biden open border policy is a craven decision, political decision. Rick Scott wants everybody to know that, quote, Americans don't want Biden's open borders. Marco Rubio says there's, quote, nothing compassionate about Biden's open border policies. Rand Paul is so crazy, he tells us, Marco Rubio is the one for an open border. Josh Hawley says, Biden's open border policy has created a moral crisis. Tom Cotton insists the border is wide open. Ron Johnson wants the world to know that, quote, our national security is at risk because Democrats have opened the border. Marjorie Taylor Greene, quote, blasts open border hypocrites. Mo Brooks, quote, opposes socialist Democrats' open border policies for helping kill Americans. Lauren Boebert says the, quote, root cause of our open border crisis is the White House. Matt Gaetz, quote, revealed a complex and deceitful agenda by Joe Biden's Democrat administration to evade our southern border law enforcement. Gymnasium Jordan says Biden's deliberate support of illegal immigration could lead to impeachment. Kevin McCarthy says the Biden administration, quote, has utterly failed to secure our open border. Elise Stefanik proclaims, quote, Biden's open border policies have been a complete disaster. Tom Cole's website features, quote, Biden's open border America. John Rose calls out, quote, Biden's open border policies. Paul Gosar claims Biden is, quote, destroying America with his open border policies. Roger Williams complains about Democrats' open border problem. Tom Cole wants the world to know that Biden's, quote, open border policies have given the green light to migrants and bad actors from around the world. And Gus Bilirakis, quote, denounces dangerous open border policies on the House floor. The list goes on. Democrats, on the other hand, only want people. Now, what's going on here? Republicans are saying the border is open. And they're saying it publicly. They're saying in front of every microphone they can get. They're broadcasting it around the world. And guess what? An awful lot of those Republican messages are making their way to social media, to Facebook and Twitter, and they're showing up on the phones of people living in Venezuela, in Nicaragua, in Costa Rica, in Honduras, and in Mexico. And those people are going, oh, look at this. A member of the United States Senate, a member of the U.S. House of Representatives says the border's open. Hey, let's go. Finally, our news media is starting to wake the hell up to this Republican strategy to damage Democratic presidents. Martha Raddatz of ABC News had Greg Abbott, another guy who's claiming that Biden's opened the border, the governor of Texas, had Greg Abbott on her program, and she nailed him. Here it is.
You talk about the border wall, you talk about open borders. I don't think I've ever heard President Biden say, we have an open border, come on over. But the people I have heard say it are you, are former President Trump, or Ron DeSantis. That message reverberates in Mexico and beyond. So they do get the message that it is an open border, and smugglers use all those kinds of statements.
Yeah, and smugglers use those statements too, right? To encourage people to leave their homes. I mean, this is like awful that Republicans are encouraging people to literally make, 1,000-mile on-foot treks where substantial numbers of these people get murdered, their family members get murdered, their children get stolen, their wives and daughters get raped, or they themselves, if they're female. I think I would love to see a reporter simply ask one of these degenerate political SOB Republicans, quote, what would it take for you to leave your home with all your possessions in one small bag and travel 1,000 miles on foot, risking rape, robbery, kidnapping, torture, and the murder of yourself and your family members? What would it take? Because I don't think Republicans I don't think they even think about these people whose lives they are putting in danger. These people who are dying, who are, literally being robbed, raped, murdered, tortured in some cases for fun by like gangs and stuff as they pass through Mexico. Because Republicans said, hey, the door is open. And then when they get to the border, they discover, hey, the door is not open. I think this is outrageous, and I am hopeful that by publishing this piece today at HartmannReport.com, and I hope you will share it with as many people as you can, I am hopeful that I can get the American media, just like I've been working for years to try to get them to call out the two Santa Clauses scam, to call out this scam, this new Republican, not new, I mean, it goes back to 1998, this Republican scam using desperate people as political props.